Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. My apologies for coming up late. It's such a busy day. Today, we had it all from travel to bunch of meetings that just ended from national security gaggles and meetings and pressers to the Trump thing today. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to cover it just a bit. Um, to AOC meetings and whatnot. So I'm gonna have a lot of readouts today. By the way, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're safe. I hope you're having a good day and staying safe and sane, which is very important and the highest priority these days. And today I'm gonna have a lot of readouts just because there were a lot of meetings. There's a lot of things happening internationally, nationally. So those are the readouts. And of course, we're going to have some clips from the today's event, not really a rally, but today's event where our VP, Kamala Harris, and Governor Walz were in Michigan. Also, we're going to discuss the rally that was yesterday in Detroit. Then we're going to cover the Trump appearance. It's not really a conference. I'm going to quote him so you kind of know what did happen. And I have four tiny clips as to what has been added to his new, I think it's like a performance. It's not really a conference. It has nothing to do with facts. It has nothing to do with news. It's just like, you watch comedian or, Seinfeld talking somewhere and then it's like, oh, it's a new joke. There's new material. So there was some new material. Let's put it this way. And then international news, again, Middle East. There's a statement that President Biden has issued together with the leaders of Kuwait and Egypt, which is very, very important. We're going to discuss it, also why it is important, down to the outcome of that prevented attack on Taylor Swift that was being planned in Austria, and we're going to discuss that as well. So a lot of readouts, some clips, some photos we're going to review as well, and of course updates on the support that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz keep getting and receiving. And today we're going to talk more about the unions. So thank you for joining me. If this is the first time for you tuning in, I welcome your questions, comments. I'm really happy to read your comments and you reacting to anything I say or even correcting me. If something that I say contradicts with whatever if you have a source, please comment. I gladly stay corrected because, we all work on this together. You have a voice, add your voice to this conversation, and I do my diligence to present facts as we know them. So thank you for joining once again. Let's talk about the Harris and Walz rally in Detroit yesterday. This was the biggest rally up until today. 15,000 people showed up, which really ticked off Donald Trump. Because today, I think that was the final drop or that cherry on top where he decided to crawl out of his bedroom in Mar-a-Lago into his living room practically and call up press that was not even mic'd nor given a mic and start blabbering because and the more he talked, the more it was vivid and livid that he's just pissed. He's pissed off this wave, this blue wave, this joy that Tim Walz has added to the campaign that was already upbeat and pumping. So yesterday's rally, a bit of a readout. The campaign said there were, as I mentioned, 15,000 people there, the largest campaign event so far, and I think it's going to go just bigger. And so Walz was introduced by a first-time voter named Adam Todd, and Walz said, "Holy hell, can you throw a party here in Michigan?" And then he talked about the governor. Of course, he praised Whitmer for knowing how to fix the damn roads and told the crowd, "You have got a treasure here in Michigan." And of course, she spoke before that as well. So really embracing the spirit, very positive, very joyful really joyful. That's what I think is standing out these days, especially since Tim Walz has been added to the ticket and the team. Um, so Walz said on the GOP, he said, quote, "The one thing I will not forgive them for is they tried to steal the joy from this country. But you know what? Our next president brings the joy." And I'm really happy that we're talking about joy so much. This is like rare. And this is, if anything, reminds me on the Obama campaign, the first one, when we found this type of rejuvenation or change and we're part of it. Yes, we can, remember? So that certainly reminds me on that. Let me know what you think about it. And let me check. Mhm. Watch the whole thing of oh, okay, Lisa, you're talking about the Trump thing. Yes. Was a lot of well, you listened with me. Okay. um all right, so he said also, in Minnesota we respect our neighbors and their personal choices. Our golden rule is mind your own damn business. It's amazing what minding your own business does to make things work better. Don't like a book, don't read it. And here's the point, you know, if you don't like something, don't read it. If you don't like listening to somebody, don't. And that's what I also posted. Because so many people are saying, well, CNN is not covering the truth. And by the way, I was flying today. I tuned into CNN. I feel you. They were practically saying that Kamala Harris is not speaking to the press. Trump is right. She hasn't given an interview. She's not like as if she was hiding. And here, literally, I have to rant a little bit. Please allow me so. We see her at least twice a day at packed rallies, answering questions, shaking hands, hugging people, taking selfies, being with people. Because guess what? Who's voting? People, not the press that is just getting more and more pissed every day that they're not being granted an interview, a sit-down interview. What is that sit-down interview going to do for us folks? Aside from that network, that literally everybody's going to flood this network, finally tune in CNN, NBC, ABC, or whatever the heck the channel would be in that case, and just bring them the views. You are interested in the views. That's why you're pushing this narrative. That's why you're embracing this lie started by Trump, mind you, that Kamala Harris cannot answer any single question. She's not sitting down. Oh, she is hiding. Is she even working? Doesn't it remind you on President Biden and how they pushed him to pass the torch, for God's sakes? Meanwhile, we see her twice a day. She's crisscrossing the entire country, storm or no storm, hurricane, no hurricane. She's having 2 rallies a day, a bunch of events, added a new picked her VP, added him to the ticket. Now they're cruising together, meeting people, talking to people, listening to people. And this guy is in hiding. He's only crawling out within the Mar-a-Lago estate to start just talking nonsense for 20 minutes and then as if answering questions, but the press is not mic'd, so you don't even know if that was the question that he's giving the answer to. How is that going to work? And if you call up a conference within like few hours, who do you think is going to show up to Mar-a-Lago to cover you? Those who actually cover you, not those that would be flying to ask questions. And to the media, I have and we're going to talk about Trump and watch some clips, but I have a request. Can we bring just a 1/10 of that mean and sort of we're fighting for the truth energy that is brought up in the press briefing at the White House every single freaking time, and I'm covering it too, to the Mar-a-Lago? Can we ask questions about his medical records, his cognitive decline, his assassination attempt? Isn't he interested as to what went down? Doesn't he have any, requests or whatnot about his physical health? Was he checked up? Do we know he's okay? He is renting incoherently, constantly, and there's not a single damn reporter in that room, mic'd or not, asking a question about exactly that. Sir, are you okay? You've been ranting for 20 minutes. You're talking about Hannibal Lecter. Nobody has this question. Nobody. Rant end. Sorry. Had to say it. Excuse me. But honestly, though, preach. Thank you, Lisa. Has she defined any policies yet? I know it's only been 2 weeks, but policy matters. Yes, I mean, she is continuing on the Biden Harris administration policies. Yes, I wish for, let's say, Harris Walz campaign to release the agenda for the first 100 days as it is common. So we could read out, we could analyze it and compare to the big question mark for the Trump campaign, because all he does is lie and complain, but he does not bring any solutions to the table. And I appreciate your question. And Colleen, you're absolutely right. But I will always bring the Trump thing because that is the alternative. Not RFK Jr. No, not the Bears, Dolphins, and couches. We have no idea what they're standing by because they say Project 2025 is in their thing. We know it is their thing. But if they claim Project 2025 or Agenda 47, which is a copy paste thing, maybe less dramatic, if it's not that, what are their policies? What are their plans for the first 100 days? And that's why I'm for thank you. Oh, like this way. Oh, don't compare me. She is the mother. She's smothering. I just wish they fact check. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Nobody's, and that's my whole point. If somebody brings up, like, there's abortion post birth, what are you talking about? Abortion is ending a pregnancy. You know what else ends a pregnancy? Birth. It's been 72. We can relax. Not sure what is this in reference to, though. But please elaborate. Throw out the playbook. Yeah. Mhm. I know he hasn't, but that's more of a reason to set a plan. Exactly. And I wish, actually, you want me? I'll shoot an email right away once we're done to the Harris campaign and ask them to release the first 100 days agenda because people are asking. Also, I got news from DNC today. I will not be going to Chicago because I want to cover it with you guys right away. And it is impossible while being at the DNC because of the security thing, because of all the stuff that you cannot be live streaming right away, only on your phone. And it's like, holding it and whatever. I want to cover it in detail. So today was the great news that I received. I'm getting full access to everything that's going on there. So we can literally live stream all day, every day through the DNC and cover all the details in real time. We're also going to have interviews. We're going to have direct access to everything as if we're there. But I can cover it with you together with the ability for you to get to know all the details on and off stage in real time. Which is exactly what I wanted. The last thing I wanted is to go to Chicago and just be stuck there into recording small clips and then waiting up until everything is over to discuss it with you. Because then you get the news from the MSM, which will be, depending on the channel you tune in. So this will be our game plan for the DNC, but we're going to talk about that in detail more tomorrow. As I mentioned today, it's just so many meetings, so much information, I guess, because it's already, a week away. Okay, let's continue with the rally. So then Kamala Harris took the stage to Beyonce's song Freedom, which I downloaded now. I'm recommending for you to do the same. And she said, we're going to do this. We are doing this. And the crowd erupted. So she said also the election would be a fight. When you know what to stand for, you know what to fight for, and we know what we stand for. Obviously, when they're having 2 rallies a day, message will be same, right? It's not the same text, but with few changes, but it's pretty much same messaging, same rhetoric, same sentences, even same saying. So I don't feel like bombarding you with the same kind of clips. But she says, I know Donald Trump's type. I've been dealing with him for my whole career, which again she has stated in many events. So she shut down the chant. It's an interesting moment um, where the crowd just erupted with "Lock him up." She says, um, and she shut it down also in Wisconsin yesterday, earlier the same day, where she said, "Here's the thing: the courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat him in November." So she's not going low, as to lock him up. He's nasty. He's whatever. She's a prosecutor. So yes, she is, calling him the way he's supposed to be called. He is a convicted felon, but she is not, sort of rallying around the crowd around the notion that he has to be locked up or whatever. Let the courts deal with him and do their thing. So the rally was interrupted by a band of protesters about midway through. So they started chanting, "Kamala, Kamala, you can't hide. We won't vote for genocide." To which Vice President Harris had a bit of a clapback. So let's watch this video together.
He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
Obviously, this phrase as to, I'm speaking, right? That was the famous phrase when she debated Pence. Some people said, oh, she went low. She didn't offer compassion. But there was compassion offered to the pro-Palestine protesters throughout the time. It was actually at that point, the administration, including Kamala Harris and President Biden, obviously, they were criticized for showing too much compassion and not closing down those encampments. So you can never satisfy people, right? To quote Eleanor Roosevelt, right? Do what's right because you will be criticized anyway. So at this point, after the rally, she met with the independent group that allegedly was behind this chant and behind those protesters at that particular event. And so somehow they understood that she mentioned that she would be open to the idea to place an embargo on weapons for Israel. And so they came up with a statement as to, we feel positive that Kamala Harris will be offering us this type of notion, which was immediately debunked this morning by her National Security Advisor, Gordon, who then stated, no, this is not going to happen. This is not what we're going to stand for. Our support behind Israel is ironclad. And I was flying and I'm watching again the CNN thing. It comes up this statement and they start talking, oh, she's shifting. And then Gordon came back and he sort of is cleaning behind her. Wait a second. What happened to the idea where you report something and you need at least 2-3 sources to report on it? In my case, I report if I get it from the White House, from the, either on background or officially. If it's on background, I'm asking what's the embargo, when it's lifted, when can I report it to you guys, and then I report on it. Or I ask for official statement. So I don't do this type of, behind the back type of thing. He said, she said, unknown sources. But let's say this group met with Kamala Harris. Don't you want to ask both parties as to what was their understanding of that meeting and what is either party open to before you start blasting this statement? Because these people showed up to current vice president's rally who is the nominee for president of the United States, and disrupted her. They hired people to do this. Don't you think they have some malicious thoughts when they put up that statement? Don't you want to reach out to her national security advisor and seek his opinion? And then you can present, well, they offered this statement, and this is Harris's statement. Because we're dealing with people's lives now. We're on the verge of something that might have no place of return. Like, we can just start a war, big war that would cost people's lives, military personnel as well as civilians. Why are you playing around with this? Just for clickbait? Just to shock the nation that, oh, Kamala Harris in private agreed to place embargo on aid for Israel. Ooh, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Makes no sense. So I wanted to state that her national security advisor completely debunked this notion, and that will not be happening. Okay. One note: Governor Walz need to be more forceful in responding to military record to categorically condemn. Exactly. And so you're referring to J.D. Vance's idea or notion that he was lying about service. See, I think we have to see Tim Walz for who he is. He's joyful. He joined now the campaign. He's very happy to do so. It takes time to come down and be presidential, as they say, right, or vice presidential, and clap back right away. He is not Donald Trump, who is loving the negativity and the fight and the forceful fight and pushing others and lying and abusing and harassing. So he's completely the opposite. So he will get there. He will get there. Perhaps not immediately, because it's not his. From what my perspective is, it's not his. Character. Simply saying we honor all service. So yes, he said we honor. Yeah. Something I've been thinking about is that a lot of people want her to make definitive statements, but nobody mentions she is still VP. There's international concerns of distance from Biden. Exactly. That is the point. And also, from what I hear, and I cover National Security Council, her vision does not differ from President Biden's. Her approach might differ because, again, think about personality. Think about what builds a personality, which is experience and character. She's a prosecutor. She's straightforward, right? Fight for what's right. President Biden is more diplomatic, also given his wisdom and experience that stretches over 5 decades in public service. So he'd rather will say less than more, be less straightforward than her, but then again, they complement each other pretty well. My point is why people, especially media, just flips everything around just to cause clickbait when we are literally talking about such sensitive matters as a war, right? Thank you. What happened with the Secret Services and the bullshit of yesterday? There's no reply on that yet. If anything, I'll update you. Okay. So today, Vice President Harris and Governor Walz were holding an event, a private event with UAW, which is a union. And so United Auto Workers in Wayne, Michigan, at a local 900 hall. They represented Ford's Michigan assembly plant, and they delivered brief remarks and greeted local union workers or members. So first, the UAW President Sean Fain introduced them. So him and Governor Walz walked out on stage. There was a tiny stage about a foot, about a foot off the ground, a large UAW seal on the wall, 6 American flags on the sides of the seal. The room had blue seats and a horseshoe, placed in the horseshoe. And so Fain spoke first, thanking Harris and Walz for coming. And then he said, Kamala Harris is one of us. Tim Walz is also one of us. So they presented them as, people who do completely understand why unions matter and the strength of the unions, which also completely mirrored in the speeches that both Walz and Harris delivered. Fain talked about the Trump-Vance disaster, and the crowd began to yell, he's a felon, he's a racist, he's a criminal. And the chants of scab broke out at times. So, UAW family, are you ready to stand united for the Harris-Walz ticket? Are you ready to speak up for the Harris-Walz ticket? Are you ready to show up for the Harris-Walz ticket? And so he then introduced Walz. And so Walz first talked about what kind of privilege it is to be there, first and foremost, which again shows his character. Take a look.
And so thank you for having me here. And to each and every one of you, thank you for the privilege of walking that picket line with you last year. Thank you for allowing us to lift up our voices. And in Minnesota, the work that you did, it didn't just benefit UAW workers, it benefited all workers.
And to your point, support for Kamala is growing amongst African Americans. Meanwhile, Trump said he doesn't need the black vote. Walz is importing. Indeed, Trump said that he's not doing well, particularly with black women, but he gets everybody else's support. So why? I was listening to this. Let's talk about Trump later. Let's just cover this first, and then we get to it. Walz is important for getting independent and even conservative white male voters. Absolutely. And to your point, what I said yesterday, I really feel that he is benefiting the white man type of rhetoric and image, where we said, the world is meant for the white guy, and he is a likable white guy who cares about women's rights, who cares about workers' rights, who cares about common sense, which is rare. It's not spreading and mansplaining, right? He is the opposite. So I think the white dudes should be very happy, because that certainly benefits their image. So then he said that everyone had 89 days to make Harris president of the United States. So again, he elaborated on, we have a little time, but we have all the resources and of course the stamina to go for it, and make sure that we have the first female president. Then we got your back chant broke out, and he then went off to talk more about Trump, similar to what we have covered yesterday at the rally in Wisconsin. So then he introduced VP Harris. Our campaign is about saying we trust the people, we see the people, we know the people. And so then she said that she's honored to have the endorsement of UAW. So, quote, that's Kamala Harris now, quote, the thing we like about hard work is we have fun doing hard work, because we know what we stand for. When we know what we stand for, you know what you're fighting for. And so she then talked more about the strength of the unions. Take a look.
And there's some perversion that's happened in our country in the last several years, where there's a suggestion that somehow strength is about making people feel small, making people feel alone. But isn't that the very opposite of what we know unions know to be strength?
Indeed. And it is so important to say that these days, because they have the record, right, to show that they're actually standing behind what they're saying. They're not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. And President Biden was the first president to walk, ticket line. But it matters as to what you do, what your record says. And with Trump, he has been president once. So he does have a record that is not good. And he's not talking about it. And mind you, if his record was somewhere presentable, don't you think he would be elaborating on that? He would be pushing that down everybody's throat. No, he doesn't. It's the same fear-mongering BS that we heard very first time when he won, that we've heard in 2020, and that we're hearing again now, just more incoherently. So when leaving Michigan, VP walked over to the pool to answer some questions. Mind you, this was an hour after Trump finished his appearance, right? That we will discuss next. So on debate with Trump, she said, well, I'm glad that he's finally agreed to a debate on September 10th, although he agreed to debate on NBC. Initially, it was ABC on September 10th. So let's see what's there, but at least the date they both agreed on. On Republican attacks on Wall's record, to your point, the military record, she said, quote, listen, I praise anyone who has presented themselves to serve our country, and I think that we all should, end quote. And that is to your point. That was your previous comment, that it was too broad, that she did not, was not specific as to how JD Vance served, right? His point is if you were not in combat, you didn't serve, which is complete BS, right? And also, he served in a press office. Is that true? That is what I've heard. I need to check that to report to you accurately, but that's what I've heard, that he was more in the correspondence thing. So again, it's we thank him for his service. Whatever he did in what capacity, that mattered. He served the country. But meanwhile, throwing poop to the other guy who also served the country for 24 years is less than smart and less than dignified. So, on why Trump originally blocked or backed out of the debate, she said, I'm beyond trying to speculate about how he thinks. And I think it's enough. Let's not dive deeper as to why he said what he said. It's all BS. It only, when he adds those the new material to his stand-up routine. Okay, we discuss it as a material to a stand-up routine. When he announces something, then we will discuss. But at this point, I don't see any announcement that would make sense to discuss. Just poop throwing. Well, I'm not in that type of reporting, so. On being open to more debate, she said, I'm happy to have that conversation about an additional debate or after September 10th for sure. So this is in reference to Trump, who said that they agreed on or he agreed with himself on 3 debates. Harris Walz have not agreed on anything yet, nor I think they knew that he agreed with himself, probably while even walking on the stage. He just made up 3 random dates and just agreed on it. But anyway, I digress. We're going to talk about him soon. On a sit-down interview, she says, I've talked to my team. I want us to get an interview scheduled before the end of the month. And this is, it's all good. Sit down, have interviews. Please. Let's not answer to the bullies. This is a well-accomplished vice president, extremely accomplished professional woman, attorney general, prosecutor, Congress. She is so accomplished and so currently in power as vice president for 3.5 years, now running as the nominee for president, that there is no need to answer to the bullies why she's not sitting down to give an interview. She has a job compared to Trump, whose job is to show up to the rallies to deliver the same old, all around Hannibal Lecter, crazy Nancy, and then show up to court to fall asleep and fart yourself into, some utopia. She has a job, which is a president of the United States of America. And she's running for president. She's a bit busy. Why don't we say she's a bit busy? Trump, meanwhile, gave an interview to what? To the podcaster who sniffed a chair from his previous whatever guest. That, the two guys who were in jail in Romania for the porn thing, for tricking women to record porn and without agreement. What's their name? Something Cobra Tate. Yes, Tate's. So they, he interviewed this Tate guy, and then he sniffed his chair, and then he interviewed Trump and gifted him a truck, the Tesla dumpster truck, with the picture of the fight from the assassination attempt and a Rolex. And then they did a TikToky, like literally this type of video TikToky. So Um, that is a beautiful interview. That's what we call now presidential interview. Hasn't talked about policies, hasn't talked about anything, but now claiming VP is not sitting down with the media. I wish she would sit down with, podcasters, YouTubers, influential people. What are you even talking? It makes no sense. Um, it's the 10th, but then again, NBC, ABC, I guess that has to be figured out. Um, Fart yourself into utopia. Exactly. I mean, what do we know he remembers from that court case? He just slept all over. Okay, before we talk about Trump, I want to talk about the unions that are supporting Tim Walz. So, AFL-CIO that famously endorsed President Biden, then endorsed Vice President Harris for president. They're now endorsing also Tim Walz, and they're very influential. As you may recall, they did also campaign with Kamala Harris a few weeks ago. So Governor, that's a quote, Governor Walz is not only an ally to labor, he's our union brother with a deep commitment to a pro-worker agenda. Labor stands united behind Harris Walz's ticket and ready to help lead the effort to defeat Trump, Vance, and their Project 2025 agenda. Now, to quote UAW, where they spoke today, they said Tim Walz doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk, as I mentioned. From delivering for working class Americans to standing with the UAW on our picket line last year, we know which side he's on. That's why we're going to send Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the White House this November. Then Becky Pringle, the president of NEA, VP Kamala Harris has delivered once again for students and educators with the exceptional choice of the educational governor. Tim Walz as her running mate. Educators are fired up and united. We know that electing the Harris-Walz ticket is the only way to take America forward. Then AFT says, quote, that moment when you're a union president and find out that a teacher and union member is going to be the next vice president. We're excited for former public school teacher and AFT member Tim Walz to join Kamala Harris on the ballot this November. And by the way, in the most recent newsletter that I sent around 3 a.m. last night, I listed all the unions that endorse them. It's a bunch of them. So go check that email. If you're not subscribed, I will bother you with this until you subscribe. It's free. Onest.substack.com. I sent newsletter to your mailbox. Read it. You get all the factual news, way more than what I have a chance to present to you here, because I don't want to spend all day talking to you, right? You have better things to do. So, next. But MAGA declared suddenly Tim Walz as a communist. Here's Fox Business. Woo, they mean business. Tim Walz's communist agenda on supervised female health decisions. Oh, please. Can we take a break here? Can we take a break here? Can we do a cheers for all the women who make their unsupervised health decisions? I'm a female as much as it can be. I never was even dreaming or thinking of the idea that wouldn't that be nice to have my health decisions be supervised? Can you flip it? Can you flip it and say unsupervised male health decisions? Oh my God, 2024. Rampant LGBTQIA plus rights. Oh my God, they can love who they love. Love is love, be together, marry whoever you want, be with whoever you want, embrace each other, find your soulmate, be together, build a family, have kids. Horrible. How communist. School lunches for unemployed minors. Unemployed minors? Do we have employed minors? Jesus. Medical care for elderly, sick or injured. Is that bad? Tax on corporate profits. Couches? Free non-Christian college believes in climate change hoax. Is this a fake thing? Please tell me it's a fake thing. What the hell? What the hell is that? that. Sign me up for what the communists mean. I mean, I was born in USSR, but that ain't the thing. I guess communism has improved. We're all signing up for it. National Guard is like the fire department. You want them trained up and ready to go, but you hope you never have to use them. No one would ever dare to say someone going 24 years of fire department service was nothing. Indeed. Indeed. She did give a perfect answer to reporters asking her to comment on Trump's ranting. I was too busy talking to voters. I didn't hear them. Yes. Cheers. Cheers back. Cheers back. Um, I was about to tell you, it got community noted. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully. The GOP has rolled back child labor laws in some states. Okay, thank God. Again, that's why your voices are so appreciated in our conversation here, because I got that earlier, and thankfully this is a fake thing. So, okay, I'm progressive because years ago I said pro-abortion. Makes me shake my head now. Loving the new embrace. It's not about choice. Medical decisions are made about abortion. Indeed. Indeed. As he said before, he must be a monster. Indeed. So it's fake. Good news. Oh my God. I didn't know this day would have good news. So now I want to show you first and foremost, remember when we talked about, let me remove this because it sounds like you're telling me that I'm fake. Wait a second. Me not like it. Okay. So remember we talked about the Harris campaign, or now Harris-Walz campaign, launching Republicans for Harris? And so they have been knocking on doors, changing people's minds, not just minding their business, but doing so much so that today I found so many headlines that were quite positive. So take a look. This is Arizona. So AZ Republicans lining up to support Harris. By the way, there's more headlines from Arizona. Arizona Republic says Kamala Harris campaign announces Republican advisory group to target GOP voters in Arizona. Kamala wins major endorsement from Republicans in key swing state. A group of Arizona Republicans endorsing Harris over Trump. Commentary: why a swing state Republican mayor backs Kamala Harris for president and says others should too. Opinion: actual Republicans surface in Arizona to support Kamala Harris, and why, as a Republican mayor, I support Kamala Harris over Trump. More: Pennsylvania Republicans for Harris, part of national effort to bring Trump wary GOP voters on board. Former Lancaster County GOP chair co-leads Republicans for Harris in Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris campaign launches effort to woo Republicans in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's anti-Trump Republicans find a focus: Nikki Haley voters. More: Georgia. Trump attacks on a Georgia governor camp leave some Republicans saying it's not a wise strategy to win the state. Then a Harris presidency would give the GOP time to purge Trumpism. And Republicans for Harris launches an unlikely coalition to challenge Trump. More: North Carolina. Republicans for Harris launches an NC backed by former GOP politicians. Then in Florida, Harris campaign staffs up to compete for unhappy GOP, persuadable independent voters. Florida Republicans who left party over Trump helped launch Republicans for Harris. And Republicans for Harris rallies members of GOP to campaign for Democratic ticket. New Hampshire. Republicans for Harris launches in the swing state of New Hampshire. And Virginia and Maine, you see here, ex-GOP Congressman Riggleman endorses Harris, rips Trump's thirst for power. And again, former Maine Republican leaders condemn Trump, voice support for Harris. And the Maine Republican group throws support behind VP Harris, and former Maine GOP leaders voice their support for Kamala Harris. So not bad, huh? They started, I think, just about a week ago. So this is happening, and we're certainly very happy to see that. Pretty sad when Sataris compare. Indeed, it's so weird that we live in times where we have to not just fact check, but even fact check whether the statement, what was said, was right. but if it was said or not, because even the wildest movie, when you watch, House of Cards or Designated Survivor, sometimes you watch it for just entertainment because the real life is just even crazier. I saw a tweet from them announcing a Zoom rally. Oh, for Republicans for Harris? Well, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing. Jazzy Diva, is that you? You shared it? You shared it? Yeah, you did. Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay, moving on. So, also today, a new ad premiered from the Harris campaign targeting Latino voters. So, take a look if you haven't watched it yet. Take a look, anyways. But let me know if this is a good ad. Certainly, if that applies to you, please let me know if that strikes the nerve, if that is done in the right manner. From my perspective, it shows respect, which I truly, truly admire, and I think is the core of any ad or any address or any video we record. So take a look.
When you're raised by an immigrant mother,
You learn what's possible with determination.
And determination is how Kamala Harris,
went from working in McDonald's to
Prosecutor
State Attorney General,
U.S. Senator
and our vice president.
in only one generation.
And with that same determination,
she always defended us.
As a prosecutor, she protected us from violent criminals.
as Attorney General,
She beat the banks that kicked families out of their homes.
As our vice president,
she fights for women's reproductive rights every day.
And she beat the pharmaceutical companies to lower costs for insulin and prescriptions.
As our president,
Determination
is how she'll stop the corporations who gouge our families
on rent
and groceries.
and she won't stop fighting.
until we win.
Because she knows
With determination,
When we fight, we win!
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
And I approve that message too. I like it. I like the vibe. I like the respect. I like the feel. Let me know what you think. It's certainly not the ad that I should be, evaluating. So, nor there would be ads targeting me anyway, because I'm as blank as this wall. So, yeah. Anyway, let me know what you think. I think it's a beautiful ad, but I hope you think so too. Now, let's talk about a senior spokesperson, Kevin Munoz, for Harris Walz campaign, stated, as the daughter of an immigrant mother, like our community, Vice President Harris knows the power of determination. It's why throughout her life she's taking on violent crimes or criminals, big banks, and greedy corporations, and won. Vice President Harris will use that same determination to beat Donald Trump, who is proudly running on an anti-Latino platform that demonizes immigrants, raises costs, and would make our communities less safe. And so we come to the Trump presser. And this is, first of all, to paint the picture, or as we call in the press poll, at color. I was watching his thing while flying literally through the storm Debbie. Debbie's not a joke. Please stay safe. Please take all those, emergency alerts serious. And please stay safe. And again, I shared that President Biden is being briefed constantly on the storm. I'm going to read out soon as well. FEMA has allocated help, and there's federal help available. So if you're looking for numbers to call, and if you're in need, please DM me, please email me. I'll get you the numbers because we get those messages. Okay. But anyway, I'm flying through the storm with everything that comes with it and listening to Trump, which is like, I don't recommend it. It's like a double bad. It's bad. It's one thing is bad, either, both, double bad. It's like, Jesus, take the wheel. Sometimes you test me, huh? I'm going to quote him. This is the actual quote. Certainly, it's not going to have any punctuation. Our country is in the most dangerous. This is how he entered. No hi, bye, but that's the first. Our country is in the most dangerous space, and we have a lot of bad things coming up. Depression from the 90s. We're close, very close to World War. We have people who are not respected. We have someone who hasn't received a vote. running for president. Frankly, I would rather be running against someone else. Kamala is a radical left person like no one has ever seen. She picked a man who's a radical and whose positions are so bad, like it never existed. He doesn't want to have borders, walls. She was a border czar, 100%. Suddenly, then not. 15, 20 million people came over the border. Media needs to be honest. We have a very sick country. We had a stock market collapse. It's just the beginning. Yeah. So that's why I tweeted there's nothing to report. There's nothing new. The only new thing is now he's referring to United States as a mental institution. Which certainly, if you take a look at Trump rallies and the base, right, that is dressed up in all that gear, you kind of get that impression too. That there might be something to it, to that state. But certainly, we should not be disrespecting mental institutions, I think, because it's a serious sickness and people are being treated for it and their families are suffering as much as those people. So let's not even play around with these jokes. I know diabetes is a disease that affects lots of minorities, but the Hispanic population does struggle with it for a number of reasons that I don't have time to get into. But that was a great point for the Harris Walls ticket to campaign on. Indeed. And I totally understand the reasons behind it. And we probably should get into it because it has... it's that discrimination that is at the core of the policies, right? And the conditions that are in the country that need to be addressed, that need to be changed. So I think there should be time to get into the reasons behind it, which COVID showed up, right? Showed all the disproportions, right? When it comes to aid, when it comes to care, when it comes to, opportunities and availability also for care, which I think we should be talking about not just when anybody runs for election, but really daily until it's fixed. Honestly, I don't know how you are sober. I don't drink. That's the reason. So, unfortunately, water. Cheers. Okay. He also said he's leading everywhere, which is not true. He wants to debate on Fox. So this is the only announcement. For September 4th, he agreed with himself to debate on Fox. And on NBC on September 10th. Mind you, ABC was considering this September 10th. So he's agreeing at least to September 10th, but now it's NBC. And ABC on September 25th. Location, hosts, and details to be determined and agreed upon. So as I quoted VP Harris, she says September 10th is a good date. Again, NBC, ABC has to be figured out what this has to, who will win that event. Does she have to pay him for all this campaign material that he's providing her? No, I think that comes natural to him. He said he's doing great with all demographics aside Black women. We discussed it. How disgusting, though. Aside from, listening to this and it's like a campaign thing and coverage, I just constantly think to myself how embarrassing it is that this is a former president. Because, when we're no longer alive, but other generations, they will be reading books, watching internet, watching clips, and think, what the hell happened? What the hell happened? It started with like Benjamin Franklin and all those big thoughts and minds fighting for democracy, and then this level of speaking, this level of harassment, this level of hate and fear-inducing nonsense. That's embarrassing. And then you think, this is a person who almost won 4 years ago, second time. This is another time he's a nominee again. He might win again. So we've been stressed for what now? It happens once, then 4 years later, we're living in the stress for what? More than 10 years. For God's sakes, this is crazy. It's embarrassing. So then he said that Biden got his election stolen. Oh, we're flipping now. From him by Kamala Harris and Crazy Nancy. He said, well, as you know, I'm not a fan of Biden, but I have to be on his side. People voted for him. I'd rather run against him. But now this is Harris. All of it is about money. He spent all the ads in showing how Joe Biden is falling down the stairs or whatever. But, fabricating that material, by the way, too. And so now that money is gone, and that is what he's pissed about. He doesn't care about Joe Biden. He doesn't care about Kamala Harris. He doesn't care about you, me, and all of us combined. He cares only one person and one person only, whom he sees in the mirror. And he ain't want to see himself in the mirror in jail. I don't think there are mirrors. Okay. He also said he wanted to use that crazy Nancy said, Biden, go away, or I'm going to use 25th Amendment. By the way, we don't know about it. And I doubt how would Trump know about it either. Okay, so let's take it with a grain of salt. She should never agree to go on a network that just paid almost $1 billion for lying about the election in the 20s. Absolutely, I agree. That's about Fox News. I would like to see all this live news updates reach thousands more future. Thank you. Well, that is, press secretary. It's a very tough thing. It comes with character. When I don't think that's something that I would dream about because I'm too straightforward. I think I'll just cause damage. He let it slip out once when he said, I don't care about you, I just want your vote. And people are cheering. After he said, I can walk on Fifth Avenue, shoot anybody, and still get your vote, he wasn't joking. He was not joking. When he said during the debate, and that's the phrase where people say, well, that's when he got everybody's support, that confronted, I think, by Hillary Clinton, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, where she said that you haven't paid tax. And she's like, yeah, I'm a business person. The United States tax, has gray zones, and I find them, the loopholes. And that's why I'm not, paying tax. And this is a good. And people are like, yeah, he's one of us. He doesn't want to pay tax. If that is the phrase that won, can you imagine the level of IQ? Understanding that if there's no tax, you are not getting your help. You're not getting your medical, aid or any type of services. Forget about it. It comes from the tax thing. You can't just print money and then complain about inflation. Oh shit, he's not joking. Yeah, he's not. He's not. Okay, some clips we need to listen. I suffered through them, so now I'm sharing the suffering with you. Would you? So one clip is 39 seconds. Here, he described how Elon endorsed him. Listen carefully how he phrases it.
Yeah, the Elon Musk. So, yeah, sure. So Elon called me. As you know, he endorsed me full-throated. Great endorsement. I respect Elon a lot. He respects me. And not easy for him to endorse, to be honest with you. It takes courage to endorse people. Many people have courage and many people don't. He does have courage. And Elon endorsed me, and he asked me whether or not I'd do a show on Monday, and I think it's going to be Monday night. And I believe he's the host of the show. So it'll be very interesting. A lot of people are talking about it. I look forward to it. That'll be done on Monday night.
I don't want to imagine Elon interviewing somebody, but I'll cover it so you don't have to watch it, and I'll tell you about it the Monday. Looking not forward to it. But I have a question. I'm a late bloomer, and I'm a nerd. Full-throated endorsement. Is that what I think it is? What were they doing when Elon endorsed him? How did he show his endorsement? Full-throated. What a weird thing to say. So then he not just compared himself to MLK, he said that his crowds are bigger. Watch this. 49 seconds.
Never see the picture of the crowd. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken. I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people. If not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. They said I had 25,000, and he had 1 million people, and I'm okay with it because I liked Dr. Martin Luther King. Yeah.
Same real estate. He's competing with Dr. King, Martin Luther King, in crowds. What is this? Also, if my grandfather was just delivering exactly this, I would take away his car keys. And I would certainly never let him come close to nuclear button, the buttons and, anything around the Oval Office. Not even that moon rock. Grandpa, here's Fox News. Here's a control remote with just one button that says power off, power on. So you can entertain yourself. If you are sick of Fox News, just do this. Grandpa, we feed you. We're going to give you the burgers, all the burgers you want, all the Coke and whatever Mountain Dews that you want to, drink. Have a good time. We even might call you president. Oh, okay. You'll be the president of the living room in Mar-a-Lago. We even live stream you and call it a reality show. You can fart as much as you want. You might have an ankle bracelet, but who cares at that point? You're stationary. But this, scary. Okay, then he literally attacked Kamala Harris in a very disgusting way, and then somehow pivoted to Kim Jong-un, who likes him a lot. It's 59 seconds. Go ahead. And then imagine you fly through the storm. So be happy you watch it without flying through the turbulence.
I don't think that anybody's ever done before. Plus, in certain cases, I see many of you in the room where I'm speaking to you on phones, I'm speaking to radio, I'm speaking to television. Television's coming over here. Excuse me, what are we doing right now? She's not doing any news conference. You know why she's not doing it? Because she can't do a news conference. She doesn't know how to do a news conference. She's not smart enough to do a news conference. And I'm sorry, we need smart people to lead this country because our country's never been in this danger before, both economically and from an outside perspective. Russia doesn't respect us anymore. China doesn't respect us anymore. North Korea, Kim Jong-un, liked me a lot. He doesn't like this group. We are in great danger. We're in great danger of being in World War III. That could happen. No, after their convention, yeah. And I'm going out. Actually, I'm going out to certain places to help certain senators get elected. Not even for me. I'm trying to help when I go out to Wyoming or when I go out to Montana or I'm going.
Wow. He figured out how politics work. I have a question. Do you think it's the same shirt and tie, or does he have many of the same ones? Can you imagine how his closet looks like? Anyway, to whatever he said, it's BS. All of it. It's just BS. All of it. I can't even. What else do you want me to tell you? Here's a video of him talking about China. 34 seconds.
I think I'm going to get along great with China. President Xi of China and I were very good friends. We met right here, right in that, except we had a beautiful sofa there, as opposed to what we have right now. Right now we have you. But President Xi and I had a very good relationship until COVID. And I held him responsible for COVID. It broke up our relationship. But I think we're going to have a great relationship. And I think it's going to be mutually beneficial. But we cannot have it where China is taking advantage of the United States. And that's what they were doing, as you very well know.
I think he's ready to give the full-throated endorsement to Xi based on this, and Kim Jong-un too. So much full-throated endorsements. But it is, it's alarming. Aside from this being BS and all of it, it's very alarming. It's incoherent, but also mad. Fear mongering, this entire we live in all of it is just that. All I hear and see. it's alarming. It is alarming. Republicans know he is inept, but they see him as a useful idiot that will pass their exactly. That you just took it. What I wanted to say. It is alarming. It is mad. It is sickening. But again, you know how they refer to, oh, Biden is being used by the liberals, right? Because he's just a puppet. They are running the country. He is not running the country. Meanwhile, that is exactly what's happening with this candidate, this GOP candidate. The Silicon Valley boys, the Project 2025 Heritage Foundation folks, they're using this elderly person for their egoistic, narcissistic, and sickening agenda. Quote that. Incoherent yes. Strongman dictators. Yeah, exactly. Republicans know he's. Oh, I read it already. Okay, so this is on his rally. Another breaking news. Have you heard that Joe Rogan has endorsed RFK Jr.? MAGA is going mad. Was Elon Musk not giving enough interviews for Joe Rogan, or is that a thing? Because what I'm hearing is that RFK, I'm like, why is he not dropping? I mean, why is he still running? What's the point here, right? And 100% projection indeed. That there are billionaires that are investing in his campaign, and it's sort of like a money laundering thing, like they're donating to his campaign and then somehow get it back. Not sure. Again, I wasn't there. I'm not covering RFK Jr. and not the Bears. I'm not going to talk about the Bear thing in Central Park. No, that's my limit. Okay. So let's talk about something good. As I mentioned, I asked you what questions do you want me to ask Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. As you know, I'm registered voter in New York. So today there was a briefing meeting. We could ask questions and have a conversation with her. I mistakenly thought it was yesterday, but it was today. Gladly received a call and it's like, oh, it's now. Great. I have a readout, literally a readout of things that we have discussed. So first, that's what she wants everybody to know. First, there's a progress on there's a progress on the Defiance Act that passed with 100 votes in favor. So in the Senate, unanimous bipartisan support, which now allows victims of sexual exploited AI-generated material online to be protected, to be legally protected, to sue those people who, let's say, take anybody's image off of a web page or social media page and create sexual content using AI-generated material. So 99% of those deep fakes created online are non-consensual and used also as a form of bullying. It is possible for someone to take your likeness and generate sexually exploited material, which is a form of sexual violence and will be recognized as such. So this is what they have agreed to. This is a big achievement. Again, unanimously. The act will allow survivors to take legal action against those who exploit someone's likeness to create sexual content without consent. After the recess, they count on this act to progress and be signed by Biden into law, which I think is a great achievement. It's truly needed. I think AI has to be regulated more because there's so many things where, aside from this weird ad that the owner of the platform X or Twitter was sharing that was completely fake, featuring Kamala Harris, just people who don't have that much recognition can be hurt so much, right? Imagine you're a teacher, right? And folks take your likeness, create sexual content, and then you lose your job over such stuff, right? They make you into some OnlyFans star or whatever. This can hurt so many people who don't even have the privilege of being known or having funds to have a lawyer, right, to prosecute those and go behind those stalkers and those sick people. So it is important to have that fundamental basis of, a legal basis to sue somebody over that. So she then said, talked more about the articles of impeachment against Supreme Court Justices Alito and Thomas that she has filed on July 10th. She says that no person is above the law, and the failure of Alito and Thomas to disclose their gifts is a problem of profound nature that undermines our democracy and the integrity of our system and Supreme Court of the United States. She also then explained, like, listen, first of all, we all have to pass some certain ethical checks, right? And you will certainly lose your job, any job, if it was given that somebody, let's say, whose contract you work on gifted you something, so you would give the or decide in a tender procedure in their favor, right? You would lose your job for that. In Supreme Court, they are nominated, they go through the checkpoints, and in Congress they're questioned, and then they're approved for life. So you can't fire them, you can't exchange them. There's nothing you can do. So their ethical standards should be much higher, right? My question was as to, as you know, President Biden introduced, in his opinion, reforms that are needed, including this ethical standards, but also term limits for the Supreme Court, that they would be, nominated every 2 years and serve 18. I asked if she would partner with him, which sort of was not specifically addressed. I think it's different because it's the White House and this is the impeachment files, so that should be then separated. So I didn't hear much endorsement in collaboration with Biden on that. But again, this is all about impeaching Alito and Thomas, and Biden's reforms are more reforms in general for the Supreme Court of the United States. So she said, since they're not elected and cannot be replaced, the ethical standards need to be much higher. So she mentioned that, for instance, for Congress members, the gifts cannot go beyond $50. So if that would apply for Supreme Court of the United States, maybe that, should be overall the standard, right? So she calls upon Congress to hold the court accountable, as its decisions on the abortion and such are extreme, and anyone who would have violated code of conduct, same as they did, they would have never be approved as a justice and would be fired from any other organization. So she then mentioned that renewing passports can be now done online. If you didn't know, at least in New York, we can do it now. So then I know some questions that you have submitted. Of course, the time was limited for all, but about child tax credit renewal. So restoring it is the highest priority in the Democratic Party in general. Currently, Republicans hold majority in the House. They refuse to extend the tax credit. Election is what will decide if we were to get the Democratic majority to make the child tax credit permanent. And then she mentioned that we don't talk enough that New York, specifically the upstate New York region, is actually what helps the House to stay Republican. So if somebody who lives upstate New York wants to sort of knock on doors and work on that, so this is important for New York State to elect more Democratic representatives rather than keep the upstate Republican, which is sort of never talked about. Which also led us to discussing the, and I know many of you submitted that question, election safety. So election safety and how to prevent election deniers from sabotaging the result. Because again, Congress would be approving it. They can also file motions as well. So first, we need to win the majority on the House level, as many House members tried to deny and overturn the 2020 election. She says these fights also happen in the state of New York. Important to note that New York is tipping point, and a lot of these races will be determined in Westchester County as one of the 6 hotspots. If we can change the demographic, the representatives in the House, then we can certainly become a bit more secure about the election results being certified as they are. Because those people who are from upstate New York, or those who are Republicans, some of them have certainly endorsed the idea of overturning the election or not approving the one. Disappointing the AOC would not champion President Biden's Supreme Court reforms. It's just different. She's not championing it. It's just different. She's filing for, and I want to be very clear here because it's just two different things. She's filing for impeaching Alito and Thomas. President Biden wants to reform Supreme Court in general. So she fully supports that. But the impeachment is the impeachment file. So those two are very different. I hope it's a bit more clear. AOC is totally right about her point that Supreme Court justice should be held to the same standards as Congress members. $50 gift would never swing any justice considering a case before them should be a standard for SCOTUS. Exactly. And why we have never even thought about or discussed it, or did I hear? No, absolutely. You're right. You're absolutely right. So also some other talk was that about deciding what is the minimum wage. And she mentioned that, for instance, our poverty line, or like the level of poverty, was determined in the 60s based on how much a white male has to earn to bring, to get to buy food for his family, including a wife that would be sitting at home with children, and they would not be needing any care for children and whatnot. So all those federal standards have been created in the 60s based on that constellation, and only the white male standard. So that even $15 an hour does not correspond really with the minimum wage or what is enough to sustain. So she said that she will certainly bring more bills and more discuss that more in the Senate to bring this, or in Congress in general, to bring this topic forth. So some actual news, some more readouts. So President Biden, today it was shared from the NSC spokesman, Sean Savit. This morning, President Biden held a meeting in the White House Situation Room with staff members from across U.S. government to directly thank them for their work to secure the release of Evan Gershkovich, Paul Whelan, Anal Sue Kurmasheva, and Vladimir Karamurza, and an additional 12 people unjustly held in Russian prisons. President Biden was joined by Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, Director of CIA Bill Burns, and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan to thank the over 100 staff members from the National Security Council, Office of Vice President, State Department, Intelligence Community, Department of Defense, and Department of Justice involved in this effort. Over 100 members, right? Whose names are not announced, they're not celebrated, they're not giving interviews. So much goes on. So when somebody leaks this, when planes are in the air and anybody can get, shot or planes diverted or whatever, yikes. So then from White House spokesperson Jeremy Edwards, who shared today the president made calls to Hawaii Governor Josh Green and to Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson to express his enduring commitment to the people of Maui as they recover from the devastating wildfires that led to 102 deaths 1 year ago. They discussed the Biden-Harris administration's determination to provide sustained support to impacted communities. The governor and mayor recognized the extraordinary partnership with the extensive federal team that is working side by side with state and local partners every day. As President Biden made clear when he and First Lady Jill Biden visited Maui shortly after the fires subsided, the Biden-Harris administration will be with the people of Maui every step of the way, no matter how long it takes. To further honor the memories of those lost in Maui 1 year ago and to embrace all those who survived and continued the hard work of healing, FEMA Administrator Chris will join members of the Lahaina community tonight and will read a letter from the president to the people of Maui at a local tribute to remembrance ceremony. So on Storm Debby, okay, I promised you a lot of readouts. So the president also received an update on impacts of Tropical Storm Debby. As it moves up the East Coast with heavy rain and possible flooding expected in North Carolina and Virginia, hence Vice President Harris and Governor Walz supposed to be in Raleigh, North Carolina. It has been canceled. Also, their Georgia rally has been canceled. Both will be rescheduled. So President Biden expresses his condolences for the affected communities, including one person who tragically lost their life. Administration officials remain in close communication with state and local officials in the region. Earlier this week, President approved an emergency declaration request from the governor of North Carolina. President continues to urge East Coast residents and anyone in the path of the storm to remain vigilant and heed the warnings of local officials. So then, on better side of the coin and better news, POTUS President Biden welcomed Texas Rangers to the White House today to celebrate their 2023 World Series championship season. As he entered, a woman in so it was all in this beautiful East Room at the White House. And as President Biden entered, a woman screamed, "Love you, Joe!" Right? And then he greeted Texas Rangers, still known to some of us as former Washington Senators. You're back in the nation's capital as world champions and you deserve it. He added, "You're a hell of a resilient team, man." So here's the first clip how President Biden first started his welcoming speech for the Texas Rangers.
Dallas-Fort Worth and the entire Metroplex, you're used to winning championships. I noticed that. I want the record to show I've got a little bit of an ability to say nice things because I married a Philly girl. Anyway, Philly fans are tough. And if I didn't root for the Phillies, I'd be sleeping alone. But she understands this part of the job. Anyway, from football to basketball to hockey to soccer, many doubters wondered if baseball would ever join them. Well, to paraphrase Corey Seager, I guess we do know.
Then President Biden talked more about Hispanic community and the need to celebrate the culture, and then also he talked about the veterans as well and the importance of bringing that subject as well. So listen.
Educating children, it matters. Cultural centers, celebrating Latino history and Latino culture, which everybody ought to start learning more about. Well, parenthetically, you know that 28 out of every high school student is Latino. We better start figuring it out. And the health and well-being of our nation's veterans, military families, and first responders. What you do matters, because that's America at its best. So congratulations to the world champion Texas Rangers, and good luck for the rest of the season, man. I'm not going to turn this over.
And by the way, he does look refreshed and tan and everything. I love it. I missed him. I was away for such a long bit away. Okay. So President also was gifted a Biden 46 on the back. He was gifted the Rangers jersey and a pair of cowboy boots. Take a look.
But this is more important. There you go. I played center field. I had a hell of an arm. I don't have it. Here you go, guys. Two steps. Give me another 2 inches.
Can you imagine how DeSantis was jealous with his boots? I love it. I love it. He's a good one. He is lovely. He is lovely. He is lovely. He's very lovely in person until he asks you straightforward questions and you're like, what? Yeah, very tough too. Of course he did. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next thing is, so President then left to Delaware. You think to chill? No. He went to Wilmington, Delaware, to greet his campaign staff. and to thank them for working now for Kamala Harris and to spend some quality time with them, which was off press. We probably get some clips or perhaps already circulating. But at Joint Base Andrews, before he left on Air Force One, he answered some questions as to whether he's confident that Vice President Harris will defeat former President Trump. And he said yes, offering a thumbs up. So, it's Dark Brandon, enough. So, also on the Middle East, today, from what I can say, the situation is, how do we call it? Fragile. So, fragile. What we should count on, we can hope for, is everybody's common sense. So, speaking to that, there's a joint statement from leaders of United States, Egypt, and Qatar. Quote, "It's time to bring immediate relief both to long-suffering people of Gaza as well as the long-suffering hostages and their families. The time has come to conclude the ceasefire and hostages and detainees release deal. The three of us and our teams have worked tirelessly over many months to forge a framework agreement that is now on the table with only the details of implementation left to conclude. This agreement is based on the principles as outlined by President Biden on May 31st, 2024, and endorsed by UN Security Council Resolution 2735. There is no further time to waste nor excuses from any party for further delay. It is time to release the hostages, begin the ceasefire, and implement this agreement. As mediators, if necessary, we are prepared to present a final bridging proposal that resolves the remaining implementation issues in a manner that meets the expectations of all parties. We have called on both sides, and here's the big thing, to resume urgent discussion on Thursday, August 15, in Doha or Cairo, to close all remaining gaps and commence implementation of the deal without further delay. Signed by President Biden, President of Arab Republic of Egypt, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Amir of the State of Qatar, Honorable Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. So, and it might sound like kicks and giggles, but this is a very straightforward statement from very important three countries that are allies here, that are saying no time anymore. Here's the place, pick one of two, Doha or Cairo. Here's the time, here's the date, get it done. So, as I mentioned earlier, Egypt told Iran, don't use our airspace to invade Israel. US will be defending Israel. Iran is ready to what? Do the, de-measuring competition with Israel? Or with the United States, basically? Or with NATO? Nobody will profit from this escalation, but both parties are very eager to show something. Netanyahu, again, only 30-some% has approved him as the leader of Israel within Israel. So he wants to stay in power and, again, flex. Iran with their side. So this statement really matters. Also, DOD, Secretary of Defense Austin held an introductory call today with the new Egyptian Minister of Defense and congratulated him on his recent appointment. They reaffirmed the enduring strategic partnership between the United States and Egypt, highlighting the importance of U.S.-Egypt defense ties and our shared commitment to regional security and stability. That is why Egypt says don't use our airspace to invade Israel, okay? Not because they love Israel. They never were allies. They never said they're going to aid them because of the U.S., because of Biden's diplomatic efforts. Let's call a thing a thing. So Secretary Austin and General Sucker discussed the Israel-Hamas conflict that began with Hamas brutal terrorist attacks on October 7, and their mutual efforts to increase the flow of humanitarian assistance into Gaza, and the urgency of securing the release of hostages held by Hamas and achieving a ceasefire through the agreement that is being negotiated. So then they talked about opportunities to enhance defense cooperation. So also, let's check your comments before we move on. As well, I'm so grateful we're all saying the liberal words that we couldn't say even 4 years ago. Indeed, Middle East. Yeah. Okay. Moving on, Australia. So, Principal Deputy National Security Advisor John Feiner met yesterday with Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade Secretary John Adams. PDNSA Feiner and Secretary Adams discussed our strong bilateral cooperation across the Indo-Pacific region, including with partners in Southeast Asia and the Pacific, as well as globally. Feiner and Secretary Adams also welcomed successful Australia-U.S. ministerial consultations that took place August 6 in Annapolis, Maryland, and reaffirmed support for further advancing U.S.-Australia alliance. This is important, again, to prevent any escalation or to respond accordingly if there were some escalation from Chinese side. So Indo-Pacific has been really the core of foreign diplomacy, aside from the European side and Ukraine and Russia and that region and NATO, but also securing Indo-Pacific and having those security agreements in place with so-called IP4, which is South Korea, Japan, New Zealand, and Australia, was really important. And those leaders were also a part of the NATO summit in Washington, D.C., the 75th summit, where they communicated directly with NATO leaders in case that would be needed if there is an escalation in place, which by China was seen as they claimed, same as Russia claimed, that they invaded sovereign Ukraine because they felt provoked by NATO. And meanwhile, as a result, now NATO is welcoming or has welcomed Sweden and Finland. Same China says, oh, you're enlarging NATO into Indo-Pacific. No. But there are security agreements in case needed. So, in terms of Russia, today YouTube stopped working largely in Russia. I think at this point at all. They have been producing YouTube, RuTube. They also have Netflix. They ban Netflix, and they have Zflix. Literally the same Netflix logo. They just flip N, and it becomes a Zflix. I can show you pictures like literally the same logo, just flip the N. Because the Z is the whole Ukraine. In Ukraine, they put Z everywhere, like endorsing the war. Also, their athletes at the Olympic Games wear the uniforms with the Z, although they're competing without a flag. Anyway, so they banned YouTube. It was reported earlier that Russian regime plans to suspend YouTube and replace with RuTube. YouTube also stopped offering content monetization to Russian creators, and they're also replacing Wikipedia with Rupedia or something like that, where they present alternative historical facts, like about Ukraine, about US, about different stuff. So you Google it there, and instead of Wikipedia, you find Rupedia, whatever thing is called, and with alternative reality, pretty much. They have been working on that for a long time. So about Taylor Swift's thing. So in Austria, 2 teenagers, actually at this point 3, 15, 17, and 18, 19. And think about it, how early that starts. So teenagers planned attacks on Taylor Swift's Vienna concerts. Authorities say suspect confessed to a plot to kill as many attendees as possible, security officials said. Promoters on Wednesday canceled the star's 3-show Vienna run, which had been expected to draw as many as 200,000 fans. Also, at least one of them supposed to be working at the concert, and had all kinds of guns and equipment and powders and everything ready to cause tremendous damage and take people's lives, including their own. So it was a suicide mission thing. And allegedly, or reportedly, I must say, by Austria's authorities that they were really sort of getting into this terroristic mindset because of the internet that targets young people in Europe and inspires them to learn how suicide missions work and to execute them, which is incredibly sad. Hi Olga, what a day! Yeah, hello. Trump is bonkers. Vance the weirdo, and Lawrence O'Donnell is ripping the mainstream media, and you want. Oh, he does? Very nice. Oh, very nice. Okay. Thank you for telling me that. So I have a good night when I watch that clip. I love it. Very good. Very good. Okay. Lastly, to finish on the good note, um, two things. So, second gentleman is in Paris. He's supporting Team USA, and he is headlining the Team USA, or the American delegation. That's the word. Delegation for the closing of the Olympic Games, which will be on the 11th. So he's there from 7th to 11th. Not much coverage available, nor his pool is, reporting anything. But he has been supporting Team USA, specifically our women's basketball team. And here's he hanging out and supporting our team. So, on a very funny note, because many people start talking about SNL and who's going to play Team Walls, I think this would be fantastic. Don't you think? I can't wait for this new season. I barely watch SNL, but I would love to watch this. Martin, come on. That is sassy, honey. I think that would be tremendously cool. Okay. So, last but not least, again, if you haven't RSVP'd to watch together the President Biden's address at the opening of the DNC on the opening night, please RSVP. If you're getting the emails, it's always in the emails where you can just RSVP and join me, and we're all going to watch it together. I'm not live streaming it or anything, but just for us to have some good time and thank President Biden, honor him, just chit chat with each other, and just have a good time. So please RSVP so you can get that email. And honest.substack.com. Free. Sign up for the newsletter. I'm also going to start posting. I started today posting the same updates that I do on Twitter, also on Threads. So if you're on Threads, please follow at Honest Press, same as on Twitter. And I also will do the same things on Substack. So they have also a timeline. It's not monitored. It's not banned. People are not moderating it. They're not blocking anything. So I think it's a good platform to kind of, have everything in one spot, including the newsletters. Also, they offer a way to put podcasts on and videos there, so I have to explore. I got an email from them today with their plans moving on, and they're certainly not banning any political content, and they're very respectful in that regard, which I think on X, matter of time if something will be compromised. God forbid, but prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Yeah, so honest.substack.com. Please subscribe. I would love to see you there. And lastly, your comments here. Please, for the love of that man, you feel holly, your lips to. Oh, okay, wait a second. I scrolled all the way up because I read it already. Apparently, Steve Martin declined. He did. No. Here go my hopes and prayers. Steve Martin would be awesome. Yes. Jim Gaffigan. Ovelis Sean. I have to Google like the optics. Steve Martin. Oh no. Hand. Oh. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. We're done. This day is long, it's unpredictable, it's up and down and turbulent on all ends. So I'm happy to send the email tonight and just have a sleep and see you tomorrow. By the way, can you please let me know if you're watching now? Please comment. Do you want me to go live tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. Eastern? Because I can't do in between meetings. 5 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for live stream. Please comment, and I'm also going to put up a vote thing where you can like vote, so we decide when we see each other tomorrow. Okay, 5 p.m. Okay, I'm all for 5 p.m. too, because 9 p.m. Oh, you like this on Friday. 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Okay. Brandon says 5 p.m. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Kitty. 2 p.m., 5 p.m. Oh, 2 p.m. Well, now we go earlier. 2 p.m. I think is early in terms of news. We won't have any like rallies because they're going to go to rallies. So have some content there. 5 p.m. Last time we can submit for the RSVP, August 16th. So you have all the time. For tomorrow, let me know as soon as possible so I prepare. Thanks, whatever best for you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Oh, you're on the West Coast. Okay, 2 p.m. Okay, so now you're like 7 p.m. You're just having a dinner time. Okay. 5, Skyman's Follies. Thank you. 5. Okay. All right, so I hear 5 p.m. So let's do 5 p.m. and then whoever couldn't watch at 5 just watches at 9. And if there's any other update, I'll just dump it all on the Accent, Twitter, and the Threads and Substack. So we covered, and to get your email anyway. So okay, we're good. So we see each other tomorrow 5 p.m. and you have to wake up at 5 p.m. So tired tomorrow. Oh, it's p.m. tomorrow, 5 p.m. You have waking up. Oh, now you have to go to sleep. Okay, please go to bed. Sorry for keeping you so long. Just wanted to get all the news for you. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night. Stay safe, stay sane. We see each other tomorrow. Okay.